dine-in or takeout with a vol card accepted. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or at coolbeansbar.com. All right, Tucker, like I said, football is back. We had week 0 this past weekend in college football. Talk about that in a little bit. But we're going to start with some Tennessee stuff. Today, like I said, we got me and Tucker out here at Cool Beans. We got a couple folks in the studio as well. So we'll hop right into Tennessee football. Usually we're not going to be doing previews on Monday, but since we didn't have a ton of stuff last weekend, only what was it, 7 college football games? 6 or 7?
not very many of them.
And then a couple preseason games. There's not a ton to talk about on Monday, so we'll do a little preview, but that won't be the norm. So we're going to start with that. I know Tucker has the depth chart going here, so we're going to start with that.
Really exciting today when you get a depth chart for the first time in college football. So, we got all that. It's funny. The word "or" is used about 17 different times on here, which is just ridiculous, right? So a couple notables on here that I found pretty interesting. You've got Tyler Barron or Dominic Bailey in the lineup. That's one that I find to be pretty interesting, and because I thought for sure Tyler Barron would have the starting role locked up.
He's been starter for past 2 years, right?
Yeah, that's really been the case, but apparently whatever they're seeing in Dominic Bailey is good enough right now. Another interesting one here. It's going to be Squirrel White or Dante Thornton in that receiver 2 spot. Brew McCoy and Ramel Keaton seem to have things locked up on here, which, I mean, we knew that it was going to be somebody was going to end up maybe not being a starter. I guess it's going to be either Squirrel White or Dante Thornton to start the year.
Just looking at this piece of paper, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on these two guys. I haven't seen training camp. I don't know what they're seeing, but Squirrel White is a 5'10", 165-pound guy. Dante Thornton Jr. is 6'5", 214. Those are two very different receivers who are going to play different positions in my mind. So I think it depends on the package you're looking at. If you're looking for a smaller, speedier guy, you're going to have Squirrel White out there. If you're looking for some more size, you're probably going to have Thornton.
Yeah, now what I will say, though, about these receivers is that Dante Thornton is very deceptive with that size. He's 6'5", 214. He can move a lot faster than maybe a guy that you would think would just go up and get those 50-50 balls. But Squirrel White, very much the part of that 5'10", 165. He's got the speed, and they're going to rely on that a lot this year just because Joe Milton is going to be throwing the ball so far down the field.
Gotcha. I know you mentioned Tyler Barron and kind of him being in that or position was a little weird for you. What outside of that, was there anything else that kind of shocked you from this?
The offensive line has been an interesting topic of conversation this offseason because, they lose a good bit of what they had last season, right? You lose Jerome Carvin, you lose Darnell Wright to the NFL, but you get a couple pretty solid leaders back, right? Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins. Now, there is a potential that Cooper Mays may not play in that first game. And when we were talking to Josh Heupel today, he very much hinted that this would be a game-time decision. So you've got these guys listed as backup centers, Ollie Lane or Dane Davis, but the left guard situation is one that I find intriguing because they basically just haven't named a starter on for anybody on the left side of that line and at right tackle because you've got John Campbell or Gerald Mincy at left tackle, and you've got 3 different guys, Andre Carrick, Jackson Lampley, or Ollie Lane in there at left guard, which, I think these are decisions that the coaches are just trying not to rush right now, but, it's going to play out as the season goes on.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned the turnover. Obviously, there's not a ton of starters returning on that line, but there's a ton of age returning on that line.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, almost every single position, I think every position except for right guard, there's a graduate player on the team. Which I think on the line more than any other position matters the most because if you got a 18-year-old kid who's, maybe went to some high school where they barely had a weight program, wasn't eating right, him on the line is not going to be that successful. If you're a guy who's been in a college program for 4 or 5 years and has had that weight training and had the nutrition, that size just matters so much on the line. I think that's a big indicator for us. Having that age on the line is huge.
Oh, yeah, and you've got all kinds of older guys on that line, too. You've got John Campbell, who's a redshirt senior coming in from Miami. down there at the U. Jackson Lampley, Ollie Lane, couple in-staters as well, some older guys on that offensive line. So you have some experience there, but I think you need to see these guys on the field a little bit more than what the share that they have given.
Yeah. So that's the two deep. I don't know if anyone back in the studio has any thoughts on the two deep. Anything that stood out to you or surprised you guys back there?
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of what you guys said. I think with Cole White, another thing is he's got what leads to him being such a great quarterback. Right? He's great at tracking the ball. I think with Thornton coming in, that's going to be the thing to watch if he's as good at tracking the deep ball as Cole White is. And then Tyler Barron in that competition, I think that's just good to know. Hey, because we know the type of player that Tyler Barron is, so we know we're going to get a good player out of that. And then with the offensive line, I think that's one of the least known units on this team. So that's I think that's where you can see one of the bigger swings relatively. It's like they could be pretty good, but you just have to see it play out. And I think that's probably maybe the biggest question mark on this team. Maybe some defensive unit, linebacker, or something like that. But I think offensive line, especially with how we run this offense and how much movement there is, those guys really have to shape. So we'll see.
I'll go. I think we're a little spoiled, to tell you the truth. I think after last year, when you have a great quarterback in the pocket like Hooker, you kind of look at this year and say, okay, how can we figure out a way to at least get us certainly close to the offensive firepower we had last year? And it's not a short tree to climb, certainly a tall one. But the offensive line is going to be the key this season, right? The defense was the issue last season. I think defensively, we're looking a little bit better despite the losses. But offensively, the offensive line giving Milton time in the pocket to go deep, his biggest asset is his arm. The fact that he can sling it as long as he can. The offensive line is going to be huge here. The fact that the hope that they can somehow create ample time for Milton to run his own sets and run the team the way he wants to is what's going to drive this team as far as they did last year on the offensive side.
I don't really have too much to add on the sides of it. I mean, I do want to know who's unnamed currently because I'm a little curious. Why are we kind of keeping
Go ahead, start talking.
something big planned? But as for the loss of Hooker and Hyatt, it is that does kind of have a possibility to set us back a lot. But I feel like Milton has the possibility to continue our stream of.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I think we will hop into a little Virginia preview, right, Sucker?
Yeah.
Tennessee, Virginia at Tennessee, kind of.
Yeah.
A little neutral site game in Nashville. I think let's start there. How do we feel about this game being played in Nashville in the Titan Stadium in a supposed neutral game?
Yeah, I don't really like it. Just to be honest with you, they had to get out of that BYU game, right? That was the whole deal there, and they settled for a neutral site game. I don't love these neutral site games just because I feel like the home and homes give you just such a better feel for the atmosphere. So it just stinks for that game to be out there. And I was thinking about it earlier today. It's actually closer to Charlottesville if this game were to be played right here in Knoxville. So
I don't know how
I don't love this neutral site game.
I don't even think it's going to be close. The amount of Tennessee fans are going to be there in comparison to Virginia fans, I think it's going to be absurd.
As someone who's going to be there, I'm going to be there. My household's going to be there. Me and my roommates, their boyfriends, their families. Like, it's going to be a lot more overran, I feel like, with Orange.
Yeah, I think if, Tucker, you're saying you're upset about it, I can't imagine how Virginia fans feel about it. It's supposed to be a neutral site game. It's going to be swarmed with Orange. I mean, we've seen what Vanderbilt games are like. I mean, those are supposed to be when they played at home in Vanderbilt. So I feel like it's going to be even worse than that. Neutral site games as a whole, I think there's a certain allure to them. They're kind of cool, but I do agree with Tucker how, that being in a home stadium, just there's an allure there almost anywhere in college football that you can't be matched with any other place. So having as many of them as possible feels like the way to go there. But I remember the the neutral site game in Bristol, I thought that was kind of cool, but playing in Nashville, it just doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, I think a neutral site game, if done properly, say it's an SEC team and a Big Ten team, they're playing in LA or something like that. That's cool. Fans can make a trip out of it. LA, Vegas, New Orleans, something like that, where people can make a trip and there's going to be 50-50 fans. I think that's cool, especially if you want to do a one-off. But I agree with you. In the most part, I think home and home series are better now. If I want to home and home against Virginia, no, I don't want to play one game. I'd much rather be playing in NC State or UNC for playing an ACC team. Virginia is just not a competent ACC football team, and I think that kind of brings us to the next part of this. How do we feel going into this game? I think for me, I'm very confident. I'm more looking to see, okay, how does Joe Milton look out there for the first half of the game, and then hopefully how does Nico look out there for the second half?
Yeah, I think that's every Tennessee fan's hope going into this game. However, I think Virginia will have a very unique motivation, right, with the whole tragedy happening there. And, it reminds me, we did see a Hawaii team with sort of a unique motivation last year, did we not? Or last week. So, with that in mind, it could be a bit of a tougher test just for that reason. But I just don't see much, specifically on the offensive end, that Virginia can do to really challenge Tennessee. So I think this game will be a pretty big win for Tennessee. And it is kind of interesting now that I think about it, the whole saga between Tony Elliott and Danny White, at least on Twitter, with the whole whether or not he was offered the job.
I'd love to play devil's advocate and say that Virginia could throw some tough things Tennessee's way, but I just don't really see it happening. I think you look at where both teams are in terms of program, it's night and day, the difference. I think Tennessee is really a program on the rise, and Virginia not as much so. So that's about it. I think you look at it all coaching, where they are as a program, and just talent wise, scheme wise, Tennessee checks all of those boxes. You talk about what you need to stop Tennessee. And look at what Georgia did last year and what they were able to do with that defense to kind of stop Tennessee's offense. I just don't think Virginia's got the dogs in that race to do it. So even if their offense comes out and it has an explosion, I don't think there's any way they could, stay close to Tennessee, just offensive firepower wise. And I think even saying that, Tennessee's defense is better than Virginia's offense. So I just think all three levels, Tennessee checks the box, and they're probably going to get a dominant win.
To do what, like a score prediction?
I think we save that for later in the week. I feel like a score
Yeah.
prediction on a Monday is a little too much. So let's get into some of the games that have actually already happened. We have a few that happened this weekend, so we'll do that after we go to break.
Big love and respect to Knoxville, Tennessee, and everybody out there. This is Brad X from the Cottonmouth Kings. You're on 90.3 The Rock, and we're getting down the right way. Big love and respect every time.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pre- and post-game location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the shows live from 7 to 8 p.m. at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2023 football Vols will play home games at Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals South Carolina, Georgia, Texas A&M, and others. Allvols.com for info, with a link at WUTKradio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols!
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Info for the UT Volunteers' first home game, Saturday, September 9th versus Austin Peay, with the kickoff time to be determined, is at utvols.com. Student ticket request period is to be announced at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. Tune in to WTK's Rock Solid Sports for football coverage all season long. 90.3 The Rock says, go Vols!
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2023 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smoky Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports covers Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com. Link up at WUTKRadio.com.
Volunteer Radio is supported by Fieldhouse Social, University Commons, hosts of the Wednesday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft food, beer, and cocktails, featuring UT and pro sports on digital TVs around the restaurant 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. FieldhouseSocial.com and their Facebook page for news and more.
This is Carl Snow, and you're listening to 90.3, local music's best friend for as long as I can remember.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center, spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. Allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball!
The Rock thanks the One Knox Sporting Club soccer team for their support. One Knox plays all of their home matches at Regal Soccer Stadium on campus, and the season runs into October, with matches against Memphis, Chattanooga, Lexington, and more USL League One opponents. Tickets, including UT student tickets and game day info, is at oneknoxsc.com. And WUTK is proud to be a media partner with One Knox. Rock Solid Sports will be keeping up with One Knox soccer all season long. One Knox SC. We are one.
All right, welcome back into the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports. Rock Solid Sports Monday night show is sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with Vol card accepted. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or at coolbeansbar.com. All right, Tucker. Did our little piece on some Tennessee stuff. Aren't going to really be able to dig into that till next Monday. But we did get a little taste of football this past weekend. We can start off with the game that I guess kind of headline going into the weekend, but leaving the weekend was probably not the headline.
No.
That being Notre Dame Navy out in, what was it, Ireland or
Yep,
Scotland?
Ireland. Dublin, Ireland.
Notre Dame beat Navy 42-3. Not that that's a shock necessarily, but I think this game was more about the spectacle, getting that like amazingly green grass from Ireland on your television and watching football on a Saturday. I think that's what this was about. Having Notre Dame, the Irish in Ireland too, versus Navy. I mean, a good showing from Notre Dame, a 42-3 win. I think we didn't learn much about them from this game. We probably learned that Navy's not very good. I think that's my biggest takeaway. Navy will not be a contender this year. Shocker.
Yeah, I think it's good to have games like this, right? I mean, obviously, with Feast Week, it's good to have some of these tournaments, just in some of these exotic places, right? You're starting the college football season out in Ireland, which I think is pretty cool. But, yeah, not a whole lot to take away from this one just because it really felt like Notre Dame just controlled the game the way they wanted to. Sam Hartman showed out very, very consistent. I believe he was 19 of 23 through the air, something in that range. So very good showing from him.
He also had a necklace made out of his rib bone.
Yeah, you had that. And then also they held a triple option offense in Navy to only 120-something yards on the ground, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering they're not going to throw the ball very much. So pretty complete game from Notre Dame. That's really about all I got on that note.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What is Notre Dame's first real test this year? Who do they have?
Well, I know they're going to play USC somewhere further down the line.
Yeah.
I know they got to go to Clemson, which is going to be pretty tricky for them.
Yeah.
So there are tests in there, and I know they've got Ohio State at home here pretty soon. So
that's a tough schedule.
They don't have the easiest schedule this year, but I think
you win 2 out of those 3 games, you're probably a playoff contender if you're Notre Dame. If you take one loss out of one of those 3, you're 11-1 or 13 or 12-1. I think that's a playoff team.
Well, see, last year the thing
they don't have
Notre
to play
Dame,
a championship game.
Yeah, the Notre Dame team we saw last year, they struggled a little bit early in the year on offense. Now they had the defense going all year long.
Yeah.
Now they have an actual quarterback in Sam Hartman, so you would think this team will be a little bit more complete.
Right.
Exactly, Tucker. I think that's if you can take away anything, at least your quarterback went out there and performed well. And, as you said, that's just the biggest thing. You're looking at what this team is missing. That's the biggest thing that they are missing. I think he had about, 4 touchdown passes, I think. And they could have just ran, halfback dive all game, and it would have worked fine because they were just much more physical than that Navy team and much more powerful. And I think we all knew that coming in. But, being able to leave that game and, we know what Sam Hartman is. We saw what he can do, but leaving that game and knowing he can be that guy for Notre Dame, I think was a big thing. And yeah, it's just Navy, but it's still just good to see that out on the field and see the product out on that field. And that's really the only thing this team has been missing is stable quarterback play.
Yeah, and I mean, I think last year Notre Dame, huge, overreaction, new coach, early loss to, was it Marshall last year?
Yeah, Marshall was the big one.
And then they kind of bounced back. So I think now, with, like you said, a new, actually good quarterback, kind of have a year under their belt as a group, I think with Notre Dame very much be a contender. And we mentioned earlier an opponent they have coming up, USC, also played this past weekend. Beat San Jose State 56-28. But not that anyone would know that. It's kind of that old adage. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to see it, does it really make a sound? This game was on Pac-12 Network, which is not on TV. You get to pull it up on like your laptop. You pay $15 a month to watch it. The Pac-12 will be dead after next season, and that is probably part of the reason why nobody saw this game. But a huge performance out of the reigning Heisman, Caleb Williams. USC is on track to be this year.
Yeah.
So it's a favorite Pac-12, I think.
Yeah, I think we took away the fact that they can score pretty well, but I think that defense is not looking great. I mean, they had that play, the 3rd and 22, where they let San Jose State's quarterback scamper out there for the first down. And, obviously they get the win. It's San Jose State, but they're going to be Oregon, Washington. We'll have games like that on the schedule later. So you're going to have to worry more about stopping those teams.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure they're fit to do it.
I mean, I don't know about USC's viability
in a college football playoff setting, against an elite defense like a Georgia or some Big Ten team. I think in the Pac-12, you're used to that West Coast offense, people airing it out. I think if you can go and score 50 points a game, their defense doesn't have to be that great. I think in my mind, no matter what, just how good this offense is, they're going to be a Pac-12 contender, but national title contender is not a different competition.
Yeah, Toki, you took the words out of my mouth because, I just thinking about that 3rd and 22 play, and then there was another play where it was a long 3rd down, and they just threw like a check down to the running back and it was wide open, and he took it 20 yards, and I think he even scored on the play, and it's the same thing every year with USC, it seems like they have that offense figured out. We know what that offense is going to be. It's going to be one of the best, if not the best offense in the country, but you have to figure out the defense at some point if you're going to compete with the top dogs in the college football world, and they just still haven't. I feel like I can confidently say that. It was the concern coming into the year, and everyone knew it. And you blow out the team. What was it, 56-28, whatever it was? Congratulations. It's just, especially against San Jose State, I want to see something from that defense. Give me something that gives me hope going forward. And I think if you're a USC fan, you didn't see that. So the question comes, when are you going to see that? I know it's only the second year of Lincoln Riley, but it was the same story at Oklahoma, and it's getting hard to believe the defense is ever going to come under Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Lincoln Riley's been a guy who has such a good offense that he dominates in the regular season, is able to beat these in-conference opponents, but then struggles when he gets the big stage. And what was that LSU Oklahoma Final Four game was a million to 0. So that's that. One more game we'll talk about. Do Vanderbilt Hawaii. Vanderbilt sneaks by. Is Vanderbilt bad or is Hawaii good? That's my question.
Yeah, that is a very tough question. I think Hawaii, we mentioned they were pretty uniquely motivated in this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the tragedy that happened out there. But, Vandy went out there and beat them 63-10 last year. So,
yeah.
I mean, I would assume there's some improvement there with Hawaii. It's Vanderbilt. We know the ceiling is only so high there. And I think it could be a bit of both. Of course, it's week 0. We can't overreact to it that much. You really can't take away that much to this game.
No.
So, I don't know. We're just going to have to see in the long run with this one. But
I think what you just said is exactly what should be said for all of week 0.
Yeah.
You can't take much from any of these. We don't get a premier game. Next week, we'll get some premier games, and we'll get to that in a second. But week 0, you can't take much away from the actual results of the games. But one thing you can take away is we get to see the new rule changes, rule implementations, and the one big one was running clock on first downs. I'm not a fan. It makes the games quicker. There's just more commercial breaks. There's less plays. I think they said over these 6 games, there were 5 less plays on average. Obviously, small sample size. We'll get to kind of see it more in action next weekend. I kind of like that college football had that unique thing where you got those stops on first downs, you got more plays, you got your teams to draw stuff up. Now for Tennessee, a team that moves so fast, maybe that could be a good thing for us. I don't know. What did you guys think of it as maybe an objective spot, and then also as a Tennessee fan?
Yeah,
how do you think it works for us?
I really did not like it because I just felt like games were going by so quick. And there's another rule change you didn't mention either. UTEP was the first team ever penalized in a row for trying to use 2 timeouts in 2 dead ball periods to be penalized for a delay of game. I don't love that either.
What is that, to stop like kicker racing?
Yeah, so let's say you have a kicker who's trying to kick a field goal and you've got 3 timeouts. You can only use one of those 3 timeouts in that instance. So I didn't like that. I really didn't. So, and I just felt like the game was going by way too fast. And, us as college football fans, we don't want less of something necessarily. Now, I know there are some safety precautions that need to be taken here and that will definitely happen with these rule changes, but you spend so many times just sitting through these commercials and these long replay reviews. It's not always about the length of the game itself. It's a lot about the other stuff going on around the game.
I think you could argue, though, about the safety aspect that it's less safe because when it's stopped on first down, you can take your time, walk up to the line, get set.
Yeah.
When it's not, now more teams are hurrying up more often. That's more chance for injury. You got these linemen stumbling down the field. I feel like it's less safe.
Yeah.
I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the pacing of the game better, right? I just think they're going about it in the wrong way. Like Tucker said, let's cut back on some of these commercial breaks. That's where the pacing gets weird. They finally, I don't know how often it still happens. I feel like it does, but where you get the kickoff, somebody would score a touchdown, you get the kickoff, somebody would score a touchdown, it'd go to commercial, you get the kickoff, go right back to commercial. And it's just like, what was that? I mean, what was that? So
yeah, the worst thing to see is when you're sitting in the stands and you see the guy walk out with the little timer sign. It says like 5 minutes.
The red hat man.
And that happened to us a lot last season when you're playing, when you're playing on ESPN, you're getting these 5-minute commercial breaks. When you're on SEC Network Plus, you're not getting that. So it kind of, I feel like with these breaks, they do need to figure out the pace because it has been slow. I agree with you. I don't think that's the answer.
Yeah. So, I mean, they just got to figure it. And it's the commercials. I really think so. I think you watch any type of soccer match, pacing is just so much better when you're not constantly going to commercial. I mean, there are no commercials. I mean, that's like the big thing when I was watching the World Cup last year. Just how much better it was without the commercial breaks, just to go straight into action and keep it going.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but
no, I'm not saying completely getting rid of commercials, but let's just limit it a little bit, please.
Cutting back would be nice. Going to go to break here in a second, but finish up with college football. I'm sure later in the week on Wednesday and Friday, they'll get much more into previewing the game. So maybe everybody just kind of one game you're excited for this first weekend back in football.
Yeah, there's not a great slate, first of all. You've got like 2 or 3 games that are really good in there. But for me, I'm going to go with that LSU-Florida State game on Sunday just because it's the rematch of what ended up being a great game last season, and it's in Orlando this time. There may be a little bit of revenge there for LSU, and matter of fact, there definitely is. But, these are 2 teams that could very well contend for their conference. And I know a lot of people out there think Florida State will overtake Clemson this season, rather. So I'm really looking forward to that game above any others.
I firmly agree with you on that basis. As someone who got to watch the game from New Orleans, I wasn't in the stadium, but I got to watch the chaos and the anger from those teams. I know that it's going to be a wonderful matchup, especially among.
I'm going to go Colorado TCU, maybe a weirder one, but what is Colorado going to look like? What is TCU going to look like? It kind of seemed like they're going in the opposite direction, right? TCU lost all that talent. Colorado gained a bunch, new head coach. That's one of the tests.
I'm looking forward to watching Florida get their butts kicked and watch number 4 Utah take down Louisville.
Yeah, I going back one, I'm definitely super excited to see Coach Prime in Colorado.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. But outside that, you guys have kind of hit the big ones. Just me personally, I'm excited to see Central Michigan versus Michigan State. Michigan State people are really. I'm a fan. They're really down on this year. I'm excited to see if we can maybe prove some people wrong. We had a lot of people transfer out. It's going to be a down year, but maybe the expectations are surpassed.
I don't know. I think,
and it's a Friday night game. Who doesn't love a Friday night college football?
There you go.
You got Louisville and Georgia Tech is Friday night as well.
I care less seeing Louisville play football.
ACC
football outside of Clemson and Florida State to me is dead. I think the ACC as a football conference is dying very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
All right. Like I said, we will get more into this later in the week on the Wednesday and Friday shows. So let's go to break and we'll come back with a little NFL talk.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, "Go Ice Bears!" Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' ninth season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. Allballs.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, Go Balls Basketball!
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols soccer program for their support. The 2023 Lady Vols soccer team will face off on the pitch against rivals, the University of Indiana, this Thursday, August 31st at 6 p.m. at the Regal Soccer Complex off of Neyland Drive. Regal Soccer Stadium is located just off Neyland Drive, and the public is invited to attend to cheer on the Lady Vols against Indiana. Stay tuned to Rock Solid Sports for more UT Lady Vols soccer info. utsports.com, and a link is at wtkradio.com. The Rock says, good luck, Lady Vol Soccer.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. The 2023 football Vols will play home games at Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals, South Carolina, Georgia, Texas A&M, and others. Allballs.com for info, with a link at wutkradio.com. UT student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, Go Balls!
We have got to get Prestige Worldwide going.
90.3 The Rock, streaming 24/7 on the World Wide Web at wutkradio.com.
The Rock thanks the One Knox Sporting Club soccer team for their support. One Knox plays all of their home matches at Regal Soccer Stadium on campus, and the season runs into October, with matches against Memphis, Chattanooga, Lexington, and more USL League One opponents. Tickets, including UT student tickets and game day info, is at oneknoxsc.com. And WUTK is proud to be a media partner with One Knox. Rock Solid Sports will be keeping up with One Knox soccer all season long. One Knox SC. We are one.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2023 regular season schedule features 6-game homestands Tuesdays through Sundays at nearby Smoky Stadium in Kodak against the Chattanooga Lookouts, Mississippi Braves, Birmingham Barons, and more. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports covers Smokies Baseball all season long. SmokiesBaseball.com. Link up at WUTKRadio.com.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center, spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
All right, we're back, and Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Show is sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off the Strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with Vol card accepted. More on Instagram at KnoxCoolBeans or at CoolBeansBar.com. All right, last segment of the night. Going to do a little NFL talk. We're still about 2 weeks out. Actually, a week and a half because we got Thursday night opener of Lions.
Your
Chiefs,
Lions?
So Yeah, my Lions opening against the Chiefs. We can talk about that a little bit in a second. But got that coming up here in about a week and a half, kind of in this just anticipatory time of NFL, because we have the shortened preseason this year with only 3 weeks. You're kind of getting teased with Hard Knocks. I haven't been that great this year, so you're kind of just waiting for it to open up on Sunday, and about 2 Sundays away from that. So super excited, but still some stuff to talk about. Couple news stories that Tucker you can get into, and then maybe to end the show we can kind of give some general NFL takes if we want to. But if you want to hop into a couple of those news stories, I know you got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so you've got some interesting news out of Titans. I guess it's not training camp anymore; it's just practice. You've got Traylon Burks and Chig Okonkwo back in practice. That is good to hear, especially considering the fact that you had the LCL sprain a couple weeks ago with Burks, and there's a couple of other guys. I believe Jalen Duncan, Dylan Radins, Monty Rice are the other 3 that returned as well. But those are definitely the 2 biggest names to keep an eye on, at least offensively, for the Titans to start the season. Now, there is one big issue I have with the Titans right now, and it's been an issue really for the last 5 years. They don't have a kicker. And when I say they don't have a kicker, they cut Michael Badgley the other day. They don't have a kicker on the roster, and there's less than 2 weeks to go before the season starts.
How do you feel about giving Destroying a call?
We could give anybody a call right now.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Who now?
The YouTube kicker who played at UCF, and then he got kicked out because of doing YouTube and stuff and making money off of it.
I don't know who this guy is.
He's
but
a YouTuber. He does YouTube videos. Somebody just got to know what I'm
it'd
talking
be
about.
useful, man. It would be useful if they could find somebody that's competent. And, what's frustrating is the Titans watch Brandon McManus get released by the Broncos and then picked up by the Jags, and then they don't make a move on Dustin Hopkins at all. They're just so passive with the position, and I don't understand it, because if you're going to play a style of football that's going to have you in a lot of close games, and you need a kicker to rely on to win you those close games, you got to get a kicker first. As weird as that sounds.
Maybe Vrabel's just planning on going for 2 every time.
I don't know. Maybe he's like that high school that at least it did this a while back, but only kicked onside kicks, only went for 2, always went for it on 4th down. So
that wasn't even a high school. That was like a D3 college.
No, it was a high school. Pulaski Academy in Arkansas.
Then the coach got hired by a D3 college, and he did the same thing. And it did not work.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's Vrabel's strategy, but it is a little frustrating to go from Ryan Suckup and just devolve into not even having a kicker at all 5 years later.
Right. I mean, Ryan Suckup, model of consistency for a kicker for anything inside of 50 yards, it seemed, and just pretty much automatic from that distance. And then he gets injured, and they kind of just cut ties with him, and he goes on to have a couple really good years in Tampa and just keeps up what he's doing. And it's just ever since then, it's just been this revolving door of names. And I'm not even saying really invest a pick in it, because you look at the kickers who get picks invested in them. Unless your name's Evan McPherson or Justin Tucker, it doesn't really seem that they work out. A candidate for Titans job is Cade York, who was on the Browns, and they trade for a guy and then cut him, who was a 4th-round pick for the Browns. And it's just, so don't do that, but just go out and get a guy. Just go out and get someone who's established. I mean, there's a couple interesting names out there. There's Mason Crosby, who's ancient.
Yeah.
There's whoever loses the New England kicker battle. There's whoever loses the Saints kicker battle. But it's just so frustrating for them not to address the position at all, and then bringing in the money badger and thinking that's going to fix the position. And, Michael Badgley just isn't it. It wasn't in. I had no confidence he could work out, and it's just going to be someone else.
One thing I do have to say about the kicking situation right now in Tennessee is I did see Mason Crosby getting some work in at my old high school, Brentwood High School in Nashville. So maybe I'm reading the tea leaves here, and they're correct. Maybe the Titans are going to sign Mason Crosby. Either way, they got to make a move on somebody.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It feels like, I don't know. It's just every season, it's the same thing. Titans get their position. I just really wish they'd bring a guy that can hold on to the job for more.
Yeah. Next, we can talk C.J. Stroud winning the starting position in Houston. Not a shocker to me. I think my philosophy, at least, if you're going to take a guy this high and your current quarterback is not that great, I think you give that guy a shot to start. So it's not a shocker to me that CJ Stroud won that job.
Yeah, I think there was some, doubt about him just having some uglier preseason performances, but it's a weird situation where, like, it's a rookie quarterback, but he's expected to start, so you're not going to have a whole lot of a sample size there.
Yeah.
But I do think overall it is the right move. He'll be better in the long run than Davis Mills will or anybody else the Texans have got right now. And you know what? I think the Texans have actually kind of done something similar to what the Jags did last season. They've assembled some free agents that, were kind of forgotten about somewhat, and they've turned it into somewhat of a sustainable roster.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he's going into. That offensive line is decent. Titus Howard is injured, but you got the left. Laramie Tunsil's awesome on the left side. You got it's Kenyon Green. Didn't play well last year, but at guard, first round pick. Spent there. They went out. They addressed receiver. They bring in Robert Woods. They bring in Tank Dell. They bring in John Mechie's coming back. He recovered from his cancer diagnosis. So you've got an interesting group of weapons there, and I think he'll make it work. I think he still needs more reps. I think we saw that in the preseason where he wasn't completely comfortable in that pocket. I'll also say it's a tough matchup having to open up against the Ravens and that defense. A team who historically has nice defenses, and again, got Marlon Humphrey on that team, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, just all those guys. So that's a tough opening. I think it's going to be ugly week one, but as the season goes on, he's going to get more comfortable in the offense and start to utilize the weapons better and get in the gear.
For sure. And then I think the last story we'll talk about before we do maybe some broad NFL talk. We can do Josh Dobbs starting out in Arizona. Obviously, Kyler Murray still injured.
Yeah. It's fascinating because he's going to be on that PUP list for 4 weeks or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they released Colt McCoy today. So they're putting all the trust in Josh Dobbs, which, it's good to see him get another chance, even though it ended poorly last year in Nashville for him. But it's going to be tough just because that roster has turned into one of, if not the worst in the NFL over time.
I don't know about that. I don't know about worst in the NFL, but
what's the worst?
Deteriorating, I think is the better word.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely deteriorating.
But yeah, I mean, him starting out there, do you see any success? Do you see them winning any games before Kyler Murray comes back?
Well, let me take a look here at the schedule. You've got the Commanders in that first game, which I don't know with them. I feel like that's a roster that's had some talent to it for a while, but it's just the fact that they haven't had a quarterback that can really lead them to any kind of sustained success. And then after that, you've got the Giants, who had a good year last year. Then you got the Cowboys and the 49ers, two of the best teams in the NFC lately.
And
so
when is Kyler Murray expected to come back?
I think week 5.
Yeah.
So it's not a good look.
They probably start off 0-4 and 5.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, hopefully Dobbs can end up being something for them.
Good for Dobbs to get a shot. Hey, I mean, that's being a backup quarterback's the best job in the world. So I mean, if he has 1 or 2 good games here, he gets another contract where he makes $10 million to go sit and hang out in some city. So
not a bad deal
at
all.
So good for Dobbs. We'll end here with some little broad predictions. I'm sure we'll do a lot of this over the next couple of weeks leading up to Thursday night's opener. Let's do dark horse. I mean, everyone's talking the Bengals, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills. We know what's going on there. I want dark horse, not just dark horse team you think can make the playoffs. I'm talking dark horse championship contender. Outside of that kind of top 5, we can kind of go around the room here.
Okay. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
I think that Kenny Pickett was, it wasn't the prettiest first year for him, but I think he's got enough weapons around him to where they can, form something with that offense.
Yeah, I mean,
that will.
I think that's the question. If Kenny Pickett can be good, the Steelers are going to be really good.
Oh, definitely. And
Kenny Pickett's not good,
and you could trust Mike Tomlin.
Middling.
You can definitely rely on Mike Tomlin to get you there.
Yeah.
So that team is always going to be in the conversation. So I definitely think that they're going to surprise some people this year.
Would you guys count Ravens as dark horse? I kind of feel like
Sure.
I feel like you're not in that upper tier.
Sure.
There, right there. I mean, Tucker kind of stole mine, so I kind of got to think on the fly here. But yeah, I mean, Baltimore new offense, Todd Monken coming in, we're going to see them air the ball out more. I think it's definitely what we're going to see. So can they ride that line of, utilizing Lamar's skill set as a runner and just being less predictable on offense? Because that's where I think they ran into trouble, the Greg Roman offense, just the predictability of what they were doing. And it wasn't complex passing stuff. They completely overhauled that receiving room. Odell Beckham Jr., got Rashad Bateman coming back from injury, and then Zay Flowers, the rookie, coming in. So they spend high capital there. They're gonna air it out. And that defense, I think the only real question you have there is edge rusher. But apart from that, they're pretty stacked. You got the best kicker in the game, and you know how important that is. So I think they're a team that they've had their window, and they haven't hit exactly what some thought they could. But this could finally be that year that they climb that mountain and get that championship.
Yeah, I think for them
First
getting.
of all, I want to
that-
address the Ravens. Excellent
No.
choice. Zay Flowers is going to be an outstanding NFL player. Here's my pick. Tucker, you can yell at me all you want. It's not biased. Now, everything has to work. Everything has to go perfect. Tua can't be injured. The offensive line has to work. Maybe we get Jonathan Taylor helps. Okay. But the Miami Dolphins, I understand they have injury. Screw it. The Miami Dolphins are the dark horse. They can compete with anybody in the NFL, assuming they're healthy, assuming these things that are not far-fetched can work out. Tua being healthy, the offensive line being almost average, honestly, as long as they can decently protect Tua. Getting a good running back, Anthony Taylor would be an excellent addition, and excellent defense. You have Waddle, and you got Hill in the corners. I'm loving the Miami Dolphins against anybody in the NFL.
I'm not really
I
going
don't
to
hate it.
disagree with that, actually.
I think they're going to be a good team. I'll go last here. I'm going to go for a homer pick. I think Dan Campbell takes the Lions and wins their first playoff game in my lifetime. It's a bit of a homer pick, but I really do think the Lions are the team that was that close last year. They started off 1-6, were able to fight all the way back and have playoff hopes in the final week. I think this year they're pushed over the edge. Once they have everybody back from injury and suspensions in the second half of the season, they're going to be the best team in the NFC North, in my opinion. I think they'll be a real contender in the NFC and in the league. So that is our show for tonight. We'll be back throughout the week talking about this first week of college football, and me and Tucker will be back next Monday recapping it. Thank you guys for listening.